Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. 24. We're back with another combat mechanics look at Final Fantasy XIV. Today we're going to be looking at the Sage. Sage is another class which you unlock at level 70, which means you've got a full character worth of skills to look at. Can be quite daunting. And the kind of names of the skills that you get for Sage, you need a Latin dictionary to try and decipher. So we're going to have a look at basic combat mechanics. This is in no way an ultimate rotation or a kind of professional look at how to play it at a high level. It's just an introduction to get you started on the class, how it works, so that you can get out there and learn your own way of playing. If you do have any top tips that I've missed out on to help me out or others, please do leave it in the comments below. Let's get started. As always, I am just north of Bent Branch Meadows in Central Shroud up here in the Jadeite Thick for a striking dummy so that we can have a look at the combat mechanics. First things first, I'm going to have a look at the offensive tools that Sage has, which are limited because it's a healing class. He does have these funky little floaty weapons, but he's not a damage dealer. First things first, you have an ability called Cardia. As you may have noticed, I am on PlayStation, so if your bars look a little bit different on your PC, that'll be why. Cardia means that every time you impact with the vast majority of your offensive spells, it will apply a healing effect to whoever you've linked up with. Now, I only found out quite recently as well, but you can do that to yourself, which is great when you're running solo. Alternatively, you can do it to your Chocobo. So I'm going to get my Chocobo out just to demonstrate. There's my Chocobo. And we're going to give him Cardia. And you can see there, you have the effect on you of Cardia. They have the effect on them of Cardion, who is the recipient of your healing ability. You can also see, obviously, your class bars over here, which are always unique to your class. The three buttons at the top just build up over time, and you'll see the progress bar. If I just use an ability that uses that, you don't have to be doing anything. That will gradually fill back up over time and give you those three buttons. They are at a goal, which you need for some of the abilities if you are looking in the tooltips, and it refers to... So the one I just used there was Caracol, which is there. That specifically says Adder's Goal cost 1. You also have something called an Adder Sting. Easy to remember, Sting hurts. That's these little tabs at the bottom. They don't build up over time. You need to trigger them a specific way, and I'll come back to that in just a moment when we're looking at the healing abilities. So, first off here, damaging abilities. We come over to our striking dummy. It is a ranged DPS class, as most healing classes are. Dosis is your straight up single target attack. Indoors Fantas. Bit of cast time to it, but you can just spam that out. It's pretty much the only single target ability that you've got, but some of your AoE abilities also do more damage to the first target that you hit. Your AoE abilities, you've got Dyscrasia. If I'm pronouncing some of these poorly, forgive me. Dyscrasia, as an AoE, that's your most basic kind of, you can just spam cast that. Uses up MP, but there's nothing stopping you from continuing to do it. You've got Phlegma. Phlegma does more damage to the first target, and you can see the difference there. 5,500 to the first one, about 2,500 to the second one. About just shy of 3,000. So look at the tooltip on that one for Phlegma. Phlegma 1, I'm using Phlegma 2, but obviously I've upgraded the ability a little bit as I've leveled up. Potency of 400 for the first enemy, 30% less for all remaining enemies. Does still give the Cardian effect, so that AoE or damaging abilities still do that Cardian healing. The third ability that you've got then, Toxicon, I can't use at the moment until I have an Adder Sting. I'll come to that again when I come to the healing abilities. So what you want to be looking at, Phlegma is your hardest hitting move, whether you're hitting a single target or otherwise. For your first target that you're hitting, it is more powerful than even Dosis, your single target move. For an AoE move, still does more to your first target there, but then you want to be falling back to your Dyscrasia for the rest of them. You also have a altered version of Dosis. So this is where it starts becoming a little bit complicated. You've got this move, Eucrasia. And what you'll see is that has then procced my Diagnosis, my Prognosis, and my Dosis. We're only looking at Dosis right now, but what that does is it puts a damage over time effect up. It doesn't do any instant damage, it does put up a dot. So you want to hit them with that and then fall back to your normal attacks. So you constantly got that dot up on your characters, on your targets. Now we come to the important bit, healing moves. You have, and I'm going to be using Fantas here, my Chocobo as my target dummy for this one. You've got Diagnosis, which is your straight up single target move. You've got Prognosis, which is your AoE target move. It does also heal yourself. They're your two most basic ones. You've also got Physis. Physis is instant cast. It doesn't do an instant heal, but it does put your heal over time up on everybody within your range. So that's your most basic kind of healing repertoire that you've got. If we go Eucratio again, it will edit those. Diagnosis is still single target, but what it does is it puts up your shield. Magic's barrier nullifying damage. Similarly, for Prognosis, you can see that's also applied that shield to myself. You do get a bigger shield for the single target one, as you would imagine, same with your healing. If you put a shield up for your whole party, it's a slightly lower powerful shield. If I come down to the tooltips on these ones, Eucration is what it means when it's been modified. 125% of HP restored. For Prognosis, 230% of HP restored. So but on a lower cure potency. Sorry, I tripped myself up there. I was like, but that's a larger amount. Cure potency 100 with a 230%. So yeah, your Diagnosis a single target will do a higher barrier because it's a higher cure potency. So it will still heal. It is still a cure, but it puts the barrier up with it as well. This is also where you get your Adder's Sting, or the easiest way to get it at least. If Fantas is under attack, it's unfortunately not going to do it while I'm doing a striking dummy. If Fantas is under attack and you put the shield up on him, if that shield gets dispelled, if he takes enough damage to break that shield, it gives you a count on your Adder Sting, and that's where you can do things like your Toxicon move. So you always want to keep that shield up, even if you're against a boss that's not really doing all that much damage, and you want to be kind of doing damage to the boss. You want to be just going out with your damage, which through the Cardian then is doing enough healing because it's not hitting all that hard. You still want to put that shield up now and then. You want to hit your Eucrasia and then your Prognosis. The smaller of the two shields, because you want that shield to break so that it triggers your Adder Sting and you can do your Toxicon move. Because it is quite a hard-hitting move if we look at that one. Again, higher damage for the first enemy, potency of 300, 50% less for remaining enemies, and it will still give that Cardian bonus as well. A couple of other moves that I like to use in my healing rotation in particular. Over here I've got Druocol. That's my what I call my panic button. It's quite a big heal and it's instant cast. You can see there it doesn't have a cooldown, so you can hit it a couple of times as well for quite a big heal. But it is using up my Adder's Gall, so you can only do that 3 times and then you've got to wait for that to come up. The reason why I use that as my panic heal, you can see here, 600 potency heal, which if you compare that with Diagnosis of only 400, so it's a big heal, and additional effect restores 7% of maximum MP. So it's bringing you back your MP as well while you're going. So a nice big heal and restoring your MP. So it's a good one in a really kind of hot stage of the battle. The Caracol that I put up earlier to demonstrate the Adder's Gall, again, is a healing move for the entire party. Self and nearby party members, reduces damage taken with a cure potency of 100. So a really, really low cure potency, but it doesn't put up a shield as such. It reduces that damage taken by 10%, which is quite a powerful kind of buff for the entire party. You've also then over on my left hand side got Ixocol that I'm going to mention. I'm not going to go through all of these abilities. As I say, this is just to get you started, and I don't want to confuse you too much looking at all these different heals that do very similar things. The other one I just want to look at is Ixocol, and again that one restores your MP. It's a AoE heal, 400 cure potency, which is pretty high. It is an instant cast, and again it's giving you back your 7% of your MP. It is an Adder's Gall cost. So basically that's your panic button if your team is taking damage, and Druocol is your panic button if your tank is taking damage. So keep those two handy on your bars as well. Heimer that you can see there, as you can probably imagine by the box kind of icon, is also a shield move. You've got that at level 70 as well, so worth mentioning. Some of the others that I've got there have unlocked at slightly higher levels. But that one is a barrier around self or target party members, so it's a single target barrier for the equivalent of a heal of 300 potency, which isn't bad. Also grants 5 stacks of Harmatine. I'm going to mess this one up a couple of times. Harmatine, where basically if the barrier is completely absorbed, it consumes that and applies a new barrier, and it does that up to 5 times. You've got your 5 stacks on that. If that then does get dispelled or broken, it's got a cure potency of 150 as well per stack that it's got on it once that ability actually expires. So quite a nice one to keep up on your tank when you're going in on boss fights. Not necessarily something that you need to apply all the time. But always, as I say, the biggest things you want to make sure, just as a recap, keep that Cardia up at all times. If you're running solo, keep it on either yourself or your Chocobo. I'd probably say on yourself, because you do more damage anyway. All your damaging abilities then will give you that passive heal while you're damaging, depending on how much damage you're doing. Make sure as well that you're using your Q-Crazier. For all of your moves, you're putting your shield up when you're using your heals, and you're putting your dot up when you're doing your main damaging attack of Dosis. Have fun with it, guys. That is your brief introduction. By all means, with the rest of the healing moves, as I say, have a look at the tooltips. It's not too difficult a one to understand when you actually look at the tooltips. It's just the names of them, and some of these daunted me when I looked at it. I honestly couldn't get my head around, well, what the hell is that supposed to do? So hopefully this at least gives you a little bit of an introduction for it, so that you can go out and start make a start with that class. As I mentioned before, if you've got any top tips that I've missed out on, pop them in the comments. If you like what you see, please do like and subscribe. I will be doing some more videos looking at some of the other classes as well. Until the next one, take care, guys. See you all soon.